Namo Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pariprajakacharya Ashtattar Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I hope all you are doing well. Today we will be reading from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 21, Quality of Sri Krishna. So before we start today, please let's pray first. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नारायणं नमस्कृतं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये जय श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. So let's begin chapter 21, Quality of Sri Krishna. Personal feature can be divided into two. One feature is covered and the other feature is manifested. When Krishna is covered by different kind of dresses, his personal feature is covered. There is an example of his covered personal feature in Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with the Dwarika Lila, his residence in Dwarika and its king. Sometime the Lord Krishna began to play by dressing himself like a woman. Seeing this form, Uddhava said, "How wonderful it is that wonderful woman is attracting by ecstatic love exactly as Krishna does. I think she must be Krishna covered. I think she must be Krishna covered by all dress, covered by the dress of woman." One devotee can praise the kind of bodily feature of the Krishna when he saw the Lord of his manifested personal feature. He 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 exclaimed, How wonderful is this personal feature of the Lord! How this neck is just like a conch shell. His eyes are so beautiful, as though they themselves were encountering the beauty of the lotus flower. His body is just like a tamala tree, very blackish. His head is protected with the canopy of hair. There is the mark of the Srivatsa on his chest, and he is holding the conch shell. By such a beautiful bodily feature, the enemy of the demon Madhu has appeared so pleasing that he can bestow upon the transcendental beast simply by my seeing his transcendental quality. Srila Rupa Goswami, after consulting various scripture, has enumerated the transcendental quality of the Lord as follows. Beautiful feature of the entire body, marked with auspicious characteristics. Number 3, extremely pleasing. Number 4, effulgent, strong, ever youthful, wonderful, linguistic, truthful, talk pleasingly, fluent, highly learned, highly intelligent, genius, artistic, extremely clever, expert, grateful, firmly determined, and expert judged on time and circumstances. See and speak on the authority of the Veda and the Scripture. Pure, self-controlled, steadfast, forbearing, forgiving, grave, self-satisfied, possessing equilibrium, magnanimous, religious, heroic, compassionate, respectful, gentle, liberal, shy, the protector of surrounded soul, happy, the well-wisher of the devotee, controlled by love, all auspicious, most powerful, all famous, popular, partial of devotee, very attractive to all women, all worshipable, all opulent, all honorable, the supreme controller. The supreme personality Godhead has these 50 transcendental quality in fullness as deep as the ocean. In other words, the extent of his the quality is inconceivable. In other words, the extent of his quality is inconceivable. As part and parcel the Supreme Lord, the individual living entity can also process all of these quality in the minute quantity, provide they become pure devotee of the Lord. In other words, all of the above transcendental quality can be present in the devotee in the minute quality, whereas the quality of in fullness is always present in the Supreme Personality. Got it. Beside this, there are other transcendental qualities which are described by Lord Shiva to Parvati in the Padma Purana, in the first canto Srimad Bhagavatam, in the connection with the conversation between the deity of the earth and kingdom of religion, Yamraja. It is said therein, person who are desirous to of becoming great personality must be decorated with the following quality: truthfulness, cleanliness, mercy, perseverance, renunciation, peacefulness, simplicity, control of sentence, equilibrium of mind, austerity, equality, forbearance, placidity, learning, knowledge, detachment, opulence, cleverly, influence, strength, memory, independence, tactfulness, laughter, patience, kind-heartedness, ingenuity, gentility, mannerliness, determination, perfection in all knowledge, proper execution, possession of all object of the enjoyment, gravity, steadiness, faithfulness, fame, respectfulness, lack of the false egotism. Person who are desiring to become the great soul cannot be without any of the above qualities. So we can know from the certain that these quality are found in Krishna, the supreme soul. Beside of all these mentioned 50 quality, Lord Krishna possesses five more, which are sometimes partially manifested in the person of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. These transcendental quality are as follows: changeless, all cognizant, ever fresh, Satchit Anand, processing an eternal blissful body, the processing all mystic power, mystic perfection. Krishna always possesses five other qualities which are manifest in the body of Narayana, and these are listed as follows. He has inconceivable potency, uncountable universe generated from his body. He is the original source of our incarnation. He is the giver of salvation to the enemy who he killed. He is attractor of the liberated soul. All those transcendental quality are manifest wonderfully in the personal feature of Lord Krishna. Beside these 60 transcendental quality, Krishna has four more, which are not manifested even in Narayana from the Godhead. What to speak of the demigod or living entity? There are as follows. He is the performer of wonderful variety pastime, especially his childhood pastime. He is surrounded by the devotee. He is surrounded by the devotee endowed with the wonderful love of Godhead. He can attract all living entity all over the universe by playing on his flute. He has a wonderful excellence of beauty that cannot be rivaled anywhere in the creation. Adding to the list of the four exceptional quality of Krishna, it is to be understood that the aggregate number of quality of Sri Krishna 64. Srila Rupa Goswami has attempted to give evidence from the various scripture about the 64 quality present in the person in the supreme law, present in the person of the supreme Lord. Beautiful bodily feature. Any comparison in the different part of the Lord's body to different material object cannot factually to be completed comparison. Ordinary person who cannot understand how exalted are the bodily feature of the Lord are simply given a chance to understand by a material comparison. It is said that Krishna's face is as beautiful as the moon. Its thigh are as powerful like a trunk of elephant. His arm are as just like a two pillar. His palms are expanded like a lotus flower. His chest is just like a doorway. His hip are like a den, and the middle of the body is like a terrace. Auspicious characteristics. There are the certain characteristics of the different limb that are considered to be very auspicious and fully pleasant in the body of the Lord. In the connection, one friend of Nanda Maharaj is speaking about Lord Krishna auspicious bodily symptom said, "My dear king of cowherd, I can find 32 auspicious symptoms in the body of my son. I am wondering how this boy could have taken his birth in the family of the cowherd men. Generally, when Lord Krishna appears, he does so in a family Kshatriya king, as did Lord Ramchandra sometime in the family of Brahmana. But Krishna accepted the role of the son to the Maharaj Nanda, despite the fact that Nanda belonged to the Vaishya community. The business of the Vaishya community is a trade, commerce, protection of cow. Therefore, his friend, who may have been born in the Brahmana family, expressed his wonder as how such exalted child could take birth in the family of Vaishya. Anyway, he pointed out the auspicious sign of the body of Krishna to the boy's foster father. He continued, this body has reddish luster in the seventh place. He continued, the boy has reddish luster in seventh place. His eye, the end of his hand, the end of his leg, his palate, his lip, his tongue, and his nail. The reddish luster in this seventh place is considered to be auspicious. This part of the body are very broad. His waist, forehead, and chest. Waist, forehead, and chest. Three part of the body are short. His neck, three part of his body are short. His neck, thigh, and genital. Three part of the body are deep. His voice, intelligence, and navel. This highness is the five part of the body. His nose, arm, ear, forehead, and thigh. The five part of the body are fineness. His skin, on the hair, or on his head, on the other part of the body, his teeth, and his fingerprint. The aggregate of all these bodily feature is manifest only the body of the great personality. The fate line on the palm are considered to be auspicious of the bodily symptom. In this connection, one old gopi informed King Nanda, your son possesses the various wonderful fate line on the palm. There is a sign of the lotus flower and wheel on the palm, on his palm, and on his sole there is a sign of flag, thunderbolt, fish, rod for controlling elephant, a lotus flower. Please observe how auspicious these signs are. Pleasing, beautiful bodily feature which automatically attract the eyes are called ruchira. Pleasing, Krishna possesses this attractive feature of ruchira, the personal feature. In the third canto, second chapter, verse 13, Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a statement about this. Supreme Personality God in his pleasing days appeared at the scene of the sacrificial arena when when King Yudhishthira was performing the Rashtriya sacrifice. All important personality from the different part of the universe had been invited to the scared arena. All of them, upon beholding Krishna there, considered that the creator ended has ended all of his craftsmanship in the connection of his particular body of Krishna. It is said that the transcendental body of the Krishna resemble the lotus flower of eight part, namely his face, his two eyes, his two hand, his navel, his two feet. The gopi, an inhabitant of Vrindavana, used to see the luster of the lotus flower everywhere, and they could hardly withdraw their eyes from such vision. From such a vision. Effulgent. The effulgence pervading the universe is considered to be the ray of the Supreme Personality Godhead. The supreme abode of the Krishna is always showing off the effulgence known as the Brahmajyoti, and the effulgence is emanating from his body. The luster of the host of jewel fixed on the chest of the Lord can defeat even the luster of the sun. And still, when compared with the bodily luster of the Lord, that crest of jewel appeared to be only as bright as one of the star in the sky. Therefore, the transcendental influence of Krishna is so great that it can defeat anyone. When Krishna was present in sacrificial area of his enemy King Kamsa, the wrestler, wrestler present, although appreciating the softness of the body of Krishna, were afraid and perturbed when they thought of engaging with him in battle. Strong. A person who has extraordinary bodily strength is called Balian. When Krishna killed Arishtasura. Some of the gopis say, "My dear friend, just see how Krishna has killed Arishtasura. Although he was a stronger than a mountain. Krishna plucked him up from plucked him up just like a piece of the cotton and threw him awaken without any difficulty. There is another kind of passage wherein it is said, oh my dear devotee of Lord Krishna, may the left hand of Lord Krishna, which has lifted the Govardhan hill like a ball, save you from all danger. Save you from all danger. Ever youthful. Krishna is beautiful at his different age, namely his childhood, his boyhood, his youth. Out of these three, his youth and is a reservoir all pleasure and is the kind of time when the highest variety of the devotional service are acceptable. At the age, Krishna is a fool with all transcendental quality and is engaged in his transcendental pastime. Therefore, devotee have accepted the beginning of his youth as a most attractive feature in ecstatic love. At the age of Krishna, at this age, Krishna is described as follows: the force of Krishna's youth was combined with this beautiful smile, which defeated even a beauty of the full moon. He was always nicely dressed in the beauty surpassing even Cupid, and he was always attracting the mind of the gopi, who were thereby always feeling pleasure. Wonderful linguist Rupa Goswami said that the person who knows the language of the different country, especially in the Sanskrit language, which is spoken in the city, the demigod, as well as other worldly language, including those of the animal, is called wonderful linguist. It is appeared it appeared from this statement that Krishna can speak and understand the language of the animal. An old woman in Vrindavana present at the time of Krishna's pastime once stated, surprise, how wonderful it is that Krishna, who owned the heart of all young girl in the Brajabhumi, can speak all language of the Brajabhumi with the gopi, while in Sanskrit he speak with the demigod, and in the language of the animal he can even speak with the cow and buffalo. Similarly, in the language of the Kashmir province with the kind of parrot another bird, as well as in the most common language, Krishna is so expressive. She inquired from the gopi as to how Krishna had become so expert in speaking so many different type of language. Truthful. A person whose word of honor is never broken is called truthful. Krishna was promised Kunti, the mother of all Pandava, that he would bring her five sons back from the battlefield of Kurukshetra. After the battle was finished, when all the Pandava had come home, Kunti praised Krishna because his promise was so nicely fulfilled. He kind of said, and even the sunshine may one day become cool and the moonshine one day become hot, but still your promise will never fall your promise will never fail. Similarly, when Krishna, along with the kind of Bhima and Arjuna, went to challenge Jarasandha, he plainly kind of told Jarasandha that he was the eternal Krishna, present along with two of the Pandava. The story is that both Krishna and the Pandava, in the case of the kind of Bhima and Arjuna, were Kshatriya, a warrior king. Jarasandha was also Kshatriya, was very charitable towards the Brahmana. Thus, Krishna had taken a plan to fight with Jarasandha, went to him with Bhima and Arjuna in dress of Brahmana. Jarasandha, being very charitable towards the Brahmana, asked them what they wanted. They expressed their desire to fight with him. Then Krishna, dressed as a Brahmana, declared himself to be the same Krishna who was the king of eternal enemy. Pleasing talker, a person who can speak sweetly even with his enemy just to pacify him is called a pleasing talker. Krishna was such a pleasing talker that after defeating his enemy Kaliya in the water of the Yamuna, he said, "My dear king of the snake, although I have given you so much pain, please do not be dissatisfied with me. It is my duty to protect this all the cow, which are worshipped even by the demigod. Only in order to save them from the danger of your presence have I been obliged to vanish you from this place. Kalia was residing with the water of the Yamuna. As a result, the back portion of the river had become poisoned. Thus, so many cows who had drunk the water had died. Therefore, Krishna, even though he was only 4 and 5 year old, dipped himself into the water and punished Kalia very severely and then asked him to leave the place and go elsewhere. Krishna said at that time that the cow are worshipped even by the demigod. He practically demonstrated how how to protect the cow. At least the people who are Krishna consciousness should follow his footstep and give all the protection to the cow. Cow are worshipped not only by the demigod, Krishna himself worshipped the cow on several occasions, especially on the day of the Gopastami and Govardhan Puja. Fluent. A person who can speak meaningful word with all politeness and good quality is called Vavaduka or fluent. A person who can who can speak meaningful word with all politeness and good quality is called fluent. There is a nice statement in the Srimad Bhagavatam regarding Krishna speaking politely. When Krishna politely bid his father Nanda Maharaj to stop the ritualistic offering to sacrifice to the rain god Indra, the wife of cowherd men become captivated. She later thus described the speaking of Krishna or to her friend. Krishna was speaking to his friend so politely and gently that it was as if he were pouring nectar into the ear of all the present there. After hearing such a sweet word from Krishna, who will not be attracted to him? Krishna's speech, which contain all good quality in the universe, is described in the following statement by the Uddhava. The word of Krishna are so attractive that they can immediately change the heart of even his opponent. His word can immediately solve all the question of the problem of the world. Although he does not speak very long, each and every word from the mouth contain volume of meaning. This speech of Krishna are very pleasing to my heart, highly learned. When a person is highly educated and acts strictly on the moral principle, he is called highly learned. A person covered in different department of knowledge is called educated, and because he act on the moral principle, he is called the moral sound. Together, these two factors constitute learning. Krishna receiving education from the Sandipani Muni is described by Sri Narad Muni as follows. In the beginning, Lord Brahma and other are like a cloud of evaporated water from the great ocean of Krishna. In other words, Brahma first received the Vedic education from Krishna as a cloud received water from the ocean. The Vedic education or instruction which was spoken by Brahma to the world was then reposed upon the mountain of Sandipuni Muni. Sandipuni Muni instruction to Krishna are like a reservoir of water of the mountain, which flow as a river and goes again to mixed with the source, the ocean of Krishna. To be more clear, the idea is that Krishna actually cannot be instructed by anyone, just as the ocean does not receive the water from the source but itself. But it only appeared that the river are pouring water into ocean. So it is clear that Brahma received his education from Krishna. So it is clear that Brahma received his education from Krishna. From Brahma, by disciplic succession, the Vedic instruction was distributed. Sandipani Muni is likened to the river which is flowing down again to the same original ocean of Krishna. The Siddha, the inhabitant of the Siddha Loka, where all are born with full developed mystic power. And the Charana, the inhabitant of the similar planet, pray to Krishna as follows. My dear Govinda, the goddess of learning, is decorated with a 14 kind of educational ornament. Her intelligence is all pervading within the four department of the Veda. Her attention is always on the law book given at the great sage like a Manu, and she is always appeared in a six kind of expert knowledge, namely the Vedic evidence, grammar, astrology, rhetoric, vocabulary, and logic. Her constant friend are the supplement of the Veda, the Purana, and she is decorated with the final conclusion of all education. And now she is acquired all opportunity to sit with you as a class friend in the school, and she is now engaged in your service. Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead, does not require any education, but he gives to chance to the goddess of the learning to serve him. Being self-effulgent, being self-sufficient, Krishna does not require the service of any living entity, although he has many devotees. It is because Krishna is so kind and merciful that he gives everyone the opportunity to serve him as though he required the service of his devotee. Regarding his moral principle, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna is a ruling over the Vrindavana as the death personified to the thieves, as pleasing bliss to the pious, as a most beautiful couple to the young girl, as the kind of most munificent personality to the poor man. He is as refreshing as the kind of full moon to his kind of friend, and to his opponent. He is annihilating fire generated from Lord Shiva. Krishna is therefore the most perfect moralist in his reciprocal dealing with a different kind of person. When he is kind of death personified to the kind of thieves, it is not that he is kind of without moral principle or that he is cruel. He is still kind, because to punish thief with death is to exhibit the highest quality of the moral principle. Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that he can deal with a different kind of person according to their dealing with Krishna dealing with the kind of devotee and kind of with the non-devotee, all the different. With non-devotee, although different, are equally good, because Krishna is all good. His dealings with all his dealing with everyone are always good. Highly intelligent. Man is called intelligent if he has a sharp memory and the fine discretion. As far as Krishna's memory is concerned, it is said that when he was studying in the school in the Sandipani Muni in the Avantipura, he kind of showed such a sharp memory. By that by once taking instruction from the teacher, he immediately become perfect in all subject. Actually, his going to school and the Sandipani Muni was to show the people of the kind of world that however great or ingenious one may be, he must go to higher authority for general education. However great one may be, he must accept a teacher or spiritual master. Krishna fine discretion was exhibited when he was fighting with the untouchable king with who attacked the kind of city of the Mathura. According to the Vedic rite, according to the According to the Vedic rite, those who are untouchable are not to be kind of touched by the Kshatriya king, not even for killing. There, therefore, when the untouchable kind of king kind of sees the kind of city of Mathura, Krishna did not think it kind of wise to kind of kill him directly with his own hand. Still, the king had to be killed. Therefore, Krishna decided with a fine discretion that he should flee from the battlefield so that untouchable king would chase him. He could then kind of lead to the kind of king of the mountain kind of where the Muchkunda was lying asleep. Muchkunda has received the benediction from the Kartikeya to the effort that when he awake from the kind of sleep, whoever he might see would at once be burnt to ashes. Therefore, Krishna thought it is wise to lead the untouchable king to that cave so that the king presence would even awaken Muchkunda and he would at once be burned to ashes. Genius. A person is called genius when he can refute any kind of opposing element with newer argument. A person is called genius when he can refute any kind of opposing element with newer argument. In this connection, there is a statement of Padavali which contains the following conversation between Krishna and Radha. One morning, when Krishna came to Radha and Radha asked him, "My dear Keshava, where is the four Varsha at present?" The Sanskrit word Varsha has three meanings. One meaning is residence, one meaning is fragrance, another meaning is dress. Actually, Radharani inquired from Krishna, "Where is your dress?" But Krishna took meaning at residence and he replied to Radharani, my dear captivated one, at the present moment my residence is in your beautiful eyes. To this replied, "My dear cunning boy, I did not ask you about your residence. I inquired about your dress." Krishna then took the meaning of vasa as a fragrance and said, "My dear fortunate one, I have just assumed this fragrance in order to be associated with your body." Srimati Radharani again inquired from Krishna, "Where did you pass your night? Where did you pass your night?" The exact Sanskrit word used in this connection was yamin yamushita. Yamin yam means at nines. Ushita means purse. Krishna, however, divided the word yamin yamushitaha into two separate words, namely yamina or mushitaha. By dividing this word into two, it came to meaning that he was kidnapped by Yamini or night. Krishna therefore replied to Radharani, "My dear Radharani, is it possible that night can kidnap me?" In this way, he was answering all the question of Radharani so cunningly that he glided his dearest of the gopi. Artistic. One who can talk and dress himself very artistically is called Vidagdha. This exemplary characteristic was visible in the personality of Sri Krishna. It is spoken of by Radharani as follows: "My dear friend, just see how Krishna was nicely composed, sung, and how he danced and speak funny word and taken a play on his flute. Wearing such a nice garland, he dressed himself in such chanting ways as though he has defeated all kind of player at the chessboard. He lives wonderfully at the topmost height or artistic craftsmanship. Clever. A person who can perform various type of work at once is called clever. In this connection, one of the gopis said, "My dear friend, just see the clever activity of Sri Krishna. He has composed nice song about the cowherd boy and is pleasing the cows. By the movement of his eye, he is pleasing the gopi. At the same time, he is fighting with a demon like Arishtasura. In this kind of way, he is sitting with a different living entity in different way, and he is truly enjoying the situation." Expert. Anyone who can quickly execute very difficult tasks is called expert. About the expert Krishna, there is a kind of sentence in 10th canto 59 chapter very verse 17 Srimad Bhagavatam, whereas Sukdev Goswami tell Maharaj Parikshit O best of the Kuru, Sri Krishna cut to pieces all the different weapons used by different fighter. Formerly, fighting was done by releasing different kind of arrow. One party would release a certain arrow, and and other part had another kind of part had to defeat it by the counteracting it with another arrow. For example, one party might can release an arrow that would cause water to pour from the sky, and to counteract this, an opposing party would have to release an arrow that could immediately turn the water into cloud. So, from this statement, it appeared that Krishna was very expert in counteracting the enemy's arrow. Similarly, at the Rasadansa, each and every gopi requested that the Krishna individually become her partner, and Krishna immediately expanded himself into so many Krishna in order to be coupled with each and every gopi. The result was the result was that each gopi found Krishna in her side, grateful. Any person who is conscious of the kind of beneficent activity and never forget his kind of service is called grateful. In the Mahabharata, Krishna said, "When I was away from Draupadi, she cries kind of with the word, 'Hey Govinda.' He called kind of for me, has kind of put me in her debt, and his indebtedness is gradually increasing in my heart." This statement by Krishna gives an evidence of how one can please the Supreme Lord simply by addressing him, "Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda." The Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare is a simply an address to the Lord and His energy. So, to anyone who is constantly engaged in addressing the Lord and His energy, we can imagine how much the Supreme Lord is obliged. It is impossible for the Lord that the can ever Lord to ever can forget such a kind of devotee. It is clearly constated in the verse that anyone who addresses the Lord immediately attract the attention of the Lord, who always remain obliged to Him. Another instance of Krishna's feeling of obligation is stated in the connection with his dealing with the Jambana. When the Lord was present as the Lord Ramchandra, Jamban, the great king of the monkey, rendered very faithful service to him. When the Lord again appeared to Lord Krishna, he married Jamban's daughter, paid him all respect that he is usually given to superior. Any kind of honest person is obliged to his kind of friend is kind of some service has been rendered unto him. Since Krishna is a supreme honest personality, how can he forget an obligation to his servitor? Determine any person who observe regulatory principle and fulfill his promise by practical activity is called determined. As far as the Lord's determination is concerned, there is example of his dealing in the Harivamsa. This is in the connection with the Lord Krishna's fighting the king of the heaven, Indra, who was forcibly deprived of the Parijata flower. Parijata is kind of lotus flower grown in the heavenly planet. Once Satyabhama, one the Krishna's queen, wanted the lotus flower. Krishna kind of promised to deliver it, but Indra refused to kind of part with the Parijat flower. Therefore, there is a great fight with the Krishna and the Pandava on the one side and the demigod other. Ultimately, the Krishna defeated all of them and took the Parijat flower, which he presented to his queen. So, in regard to that occurrence, Krishna told Narad Muni, "My dear great sages of the demigod, now you can declare to the devotee in the general and to the non-devotee in particular that in the kind of matter of taking of the Parijat flower, all the demigod, the Gandharvas, Nagas, the demon Rakshasas, the Yakshas, and the Pandavas tried to defeat me, but none could make me break my promise of my queen." There is another promise in by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita to the effort that his devotee will never vanquish. So a sincere devotee who is always engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord should know for certain that Krishna will never break his promise. He will always protect his devotee in every circumstances. Krishna saw how he fulfilled his promise by dealing with the Parijat flower through the Satyabhama, by saving Draupadi from being insulted, and by freeing Arjuna by attracting all enemy. A person of the promise of Krishna that his devotee are never vanquished had also previously been admitted by Indra when he was defeated by the Govardhan Lila. He was defeated in the Govardhan Lila when Krishna stopped the villagers of the Braja Vrindavana from worshipping Indra. Indra became angry and therefore inundated Vrindavana under the continuous rain. Krishna, however, protected all the citizen and animal of Vrindavana by lifting Govardhan hill, which served as an umbrella. After the incident was over, Indra surrounded to Krishna with many kind of prayer, in which he admitted, by your lifting Govardhan hill and protect the citizen of Vrindavana, you have kept your promise that your devotee are never be vanquished. Expert judge of time and circumstances. Krishna was very expert in dealing with the people according to the time and circumstances, country, time, and the paraphernalia. How he could take advantage of the particular time and circumstances, and the person is expressed by him whole talking to Uddhava about his rasa dance with the gopi. He says the opportune time in the full moon night in the autumn, like tonight. The best place within the universe is Brindavana, the most beautiful girl of the Gopi. So, my dear friend Uddhava, I think I should now take advantage of these circumstances and engaged myself in the rasa dance. 20. Seed by the authority of the scripture. A person who acts exactly according to the tenet of the scripture is called Sastra Chakshu. Sastra Chakshu means one who sees through the eyes of authoritative scripture. Actually, a man of knowledge and experience should see everything through this book. For example, with our naked eye, we perceive the sun globe simply by the sum of the glaring substance. But when we see this through the authority of the book of the science and other literature, we can understand how such a greater sun globe is than the earth, how powerful it is. By so seeing thing through the naked eye is not actually seeing through the authority book and authorized authority teacher is in the correct way to see. So the Krishna is the supreme personality god. It can see all the past, present, and future. To teach the people in general, he can use to always refer to the scripture. For example, Bhagavad Gita. Although Krishna was the speaking as the supreme authority, he is still mentioned as and quoted Vedanta Sutra and authority. Vedanta Sutra and authority. So there is a statement in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein the person jokingly can say that Krishna, the enemy of Krishna, is known as the Sir through the Shastra. In order to establish authority, however, he is now engaged in seeing the gopi, whereby the gopi are becoming maddened, pure. There are two kinds of supreme purity. When the one type is processed, one is able to deliver a sinful person. When the type is processed, one does not do anything that is impure. A kind of person who process can either of the kind of quality is called the supreme kind of pure. Krishna is kind of both. He can deliver all the sinful conditioned soul. At the same time, he never does he can never can does anything by which he can become contaminated. In this connection, Vidura while trying to detach his elder brother, Dhritarashtra found the family attachment and said, "My dear brother, you can just fix your mind on the lotus feet of the Krishna who is worshipped with the kind of beautiful kind of erotic kind of verse by the great kind of sages and saintly kind of person. Krishna is the supreme deliverer among all these deliverers. Undoubtedly, there are great demigod like Lord Shiva. Undoubtedly, there are the great demigod like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, but their position as a deliverer depend always upon the mercy of the Krishna. Therefore, Vidura can advise his elder brother Dhritarashtra to concentrate his mind the worship only Krishna. If one simple chant of the holy name of the Krishna, the holy name will rise within the one heart like a powerful sun will immediately dissipate from all darkness of ignorance. Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to therefore think always the Krishna so that the volume of the contamination due to the sinful activity would be vanquished of immediately. In Bhagavad Gita, also Krishna addressed by Arjuna as Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram, the supreme peer. There are many other instances exhibiting Krishna's supreme purity. Self-control. A person who can control his senses fully is called Vasi or self-control. In this connection, it is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, all the 16,000 wives of Krishna was exquisitely beautiful, and their smiling and shyness were very able to captivate the mind of the great demigod like Lord Shiva. But still, they could not even agitate the mind of the Krishna in spite of the attractive feminine behavior. Every of the thousand of every 16 every one of thousand of wife of Krishna was thinking Krishna was captivated by her feminine beauty. But this was not the case. As Krishna is therefore the supreme controller of the scene, and thus admitted the Bhagavad Gita, where he is addressed as Hrishikesha, the master of all senses. State first. A person who continued to work until his desired goal is achieved is called steady first. There is a kind of fight between the Krishna and King Jambana. The Krishna was to take the valuable uh, Samantika jewel from the king. The Krishna tried to hide himself in the forest. Krishna would not become discouraged. Krishna finally got the jewel by seeing out of the king with a great steadfastness. Forbearing. A person who tolerated all kind of trouble, even though such a trouble appear to be unbearable, is called forbearing. When Krishna was residing in the place to his spiritual master, he did not mind taking all trouble in rendering service of his guru. Although his body was very soft and delicate, it is the duty of the disciple to execute all service unto the spiritual master despite all kind of difficulty. The disciple living in the residence of the spiritual master has to go begging from the door to door and bring everything back to spiritual master. When is being served, the spiritual master is supposed to call each and every disciple to come eat. If by chance of the spiritual master forget to call a disciple to partake the prasada, it is enjoyed. It is the scripture that the student should first on the student should first on that day rather than accept food on his own initiative. There are many such stricture. Sometimes also Krishna went to forest to collect dry fruit for fuel. Forgiving. A person who can tolerate all kind of offense from the opposite party is known to be forgiving. Lord Krishna forgiving quality is described in the Sisuval Vada in connection with his forbidding the killing of the Sisupal. The king Sisupal was the monarch and monarch of the kingdom. Although he happened to be cousin of the Krishna's, he was always envious of him. Whenever they would meet, Sisupal would try to insult Krishna and call him ill name as much as possible. In the arena, in the Rashtriya sacrifice Maharaj Yudhishthira, when Sisupal began to call Lord Krishna ill name, Krishna did not care and remained silent. Some of the people of the arena were prepared to kill Sisupal, but Krishna restricted him. He was so forgiving. It is said that when there is a thundering sound in the cloud, the mighty lion immediately replied with his thundering roar. But the lion does not care. When all the foolish jackal begin to make their less important sound, Sri Yamunacharya can praise Krishna's power of forgiveness with the following statement: My dear Lord Ramachandra, so you are so merciful to have execute the crows crawling in the nipple of the Janaki's uh, s- simply because of his bowing down before him. Once Indra's king of heaven assumed the form of the crow, attracted to Sita Janaki, Lord Ramachandra wife, by striking her on the breast. In it This was certainly an insult to the universal mother Krishna, and Lord Ramchandra was immediately prepared to kill the cow. But the, because later on the cow gonna bow down before the Lord executed of his offense. See, Yamunacharya further gonna say in the prayer that forgiving power of the Lord Krishna is even greater than the Lord Ramachandra, because Sisupal was always in the habit of insulting Krishna, not only in the one lifetime, but continuously throughout three life. See, still Krishna was so kind that he gave Sisupal that salvation for merging into his existence. From this, we can understand that the goal of the one is to merge into the effulgence of the Supreme is not very difficult person like Sisupala, who are constantly inimical to Krishna, can also get his liberation grip. A person who does not express his mind to everyone, whose mental activity and plan of action are very difficult to understand, is called grave. After Lord Krishna had been offered by Brahma, Brahma prayed to him to be executed. But in spite of offering nice prayer to Krishna, Brahma could not understand whether Krishna was satisfied or still dissatisfied. In other words, Krishna is so grave that he did not take the prayer of the Brahma very seriously. Another instance of Krishna's gravity is found in the connection with the love affair with the Radharani. Krishna was always very silent about his love affair with the Radharani, so much that Baladeva, Krishna's elder brother, constant companion, could not understand the transformation of Krishna on account of his gravity. Self-satisfied, a person who is fully satisfied in himself without any hankering, and who is not agitated even in the presence of the serious cause for distress, is called self-satisfied. A person of the example of the Krishna self-satisfaction was exhibited when Arjuna and Bhima went to challenge Jarasandha, the formidable king of the Magadha. The king gave all credit to Bhima for the killing of Jarasandha. From this, we can understand that Krishna never care all of fame, although no one can be more famous. An example of his not being disturbed as was shown when Sisupala began to call him ill name. All the king and the Brahmana assembled in the sacrificial area of Maharaj Yudhishthira become perturbed and immediately wanted to satisfy Krishna by offering nice prayer. But all this king and Brahmana could not discover any disturbance in a Krishna's processing equilibrium. A person who is unaffected by attachment and envy is said to be process equilibrium. An example of Krishna's equilibrium is given in the 10th canto, 16th chapter, verse 33 of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the connection with he is the chastising Kaliya, the hundred-headed serpent. While Kaliya was being severely punished, all of the wives appeared before the Lord and prayed as follows: Dear Lord, you have descended to gonna punish all kind of demoniac living creature. Our husband, this Kalia, is greatly sinful creature, and your punishment of him is so appropriate, is quite appropriate. We know that your punishment of your enemy and your dealing with your son are both the same. We know that it is kind of thinking that the for thinking of the for future welfare of this condemned creature that you have chastised him. In another prayer it is said, my dear Lord Krishna, best of all Kuru dynasty, you are so impartial, that if even your enemy is kind of qualified, you will reward him, and if one of your son is a culprit, you will chastise him. This is your kind of business, because you are the supreme author of the universe. You have no partiality. If anyone find any partiality in your characteristics, he is surely mistaken. Magnanimous. Any person who is very charitable disposed is called magnanimous. When Krishna was raging over Dwarika, he was so magnanimous and charitably kind of disposed that there is no limit to his charity. In fact, so great was his charity in Dwarika that even the spiritual kingdom, with all of its opulence of the Chintamani, touchstone, desire tree, and Surabhi was surpassed. In the spiritual kingdom of Lord Krishna, named Golok Vrindavana, there was a Survi cow that give unlimited quantity of milk. There is a desert tree, from which anyone can take the kind of fruit, as much chicken as he can may desire. The land is made of touchstone, which when touched to iron will transform into gold. In other words, although in the spiritual kingdom, the abode of the Krishna, everything is wonderfully opulent. Still, when Krishna was in Dwarika, with the kind of charity can exceeded the opulence of the Golok Vrindavana. Whenever kind of Krishna is kind of present, to the kind of limitless opulence of the Golok Vrindavana is automatically present. It is also constated that the while Krishna was living in Dwarika, he expanded himself 16,108 kind of form, and each and every expansion reside in the place of with kind of one with a queen. Not only was the Krishna happily living with the kind of queen kind of in those places, but he was giving in charity kind of, from each place an aggregate number 13,054 cows completely decorated with nice clothing and ornament. From each of Krishna 16,180 kind of palace, there is a cow who gives cow are given daily. This means that 13,054 multiplied by 16,100 and a cow were given in charity by Krishna every day. No one can estimate the value of such a large number of cows given in charity. But that was a system of Krishna's daily affair while he was in Dwarika. Religious. A person who personally practice the tenets of religion, as they are enjoined in the Shastra, and who also teaches other the kind of same principle, is called religious. Simply processing a kind of faith, it is not a sign of religiousness. It must act according to the religious principle, and by the personal example he should teach others. Such a person is to be understood as a religious. When Krishna was present in the planet, there was no irreligion. In the connection, Narad Muni was addressed Krishna jokingly, "My dear Lord of the cowherd boy, your bull are the representation of the religion. While eating the grass of the pasturing ground and the moving on the four laid, have certainly eaten up all the grasses of irreligion." In other word, by the grace of the Krishna, religious principle were so well cured for that hardly any irreligious activity could be found. It is said that because Krishna was constantly performing various type of sacrifice and was invited the demigod from the higher planetary system, the demigod were almost always absent from their concert. Therefore, the wife of the demigod, regretting the absence of their husband, began to pray of the appearance of Lord Buddha, Krishna's ninth incarnation, who appeared in the age of Kali. In other words, instead of being pleased that Krishna had come, they began to pray the Lord Buddha, who is ninth incarnation, because Lord Buddha stopped the ritualistic ceremony and sacrifice recommended in the Veda in order to discourage the animal killing. The demigod wife, the demigod wife thought that if the Lord Buddha appeared, all kind of sacrifice would be stopped, and thus their husband would not be invited to such ceremony and would not be separated from them. Sometimes it is inquired why don't the demigod from the higher planetary system come to the earthly planet nowadays? Why do not the demigod from higher planetary system come to this earth planet nowadays? The plain answer is that since Lord Buddha appeared and began to dissipate the performance of sacrifice in order to stop killing on this planet, the process of offering sacrifice has begun stop. And the demigod do not care to come here anymore. So here we conclude the reading of Bhaktivedanta Purport from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 21. I hope all you understood. Now let's go into the insight. It's a long chapter, the quality of the Sri Krishna. Now let's go to the insight. Please listen till the end. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.
All right, welcome to the explainer. So, let me ask you something. Have you ever tried to describe something that's, well, infinite? It's a tough one, right? Today, we're diving into a classic text that actually tries to do just that. It builds this incredible 64-step pyramid to define the divine. And trust me, the qualities that end up at the very, very top, they're probably not what you're expecting. You know, the text doesn't start with some boring academic list of qualities. No way. It kicks off right here with just pure poetry. It's this beautiful, almost breathless attempt to capture a kind of beauty that's just overwhelming. So before we get into any of the analysis, it's all about that feeling of pure awe. And that right there, that's the big question the text is trying to answer. How do you go from that feeling of just, wow, to something you can actually understand and break down? It's this really cool shift, you know, from the poetic to the analytical, all to build a complete picture one quality at a time. Okay, so let's get into it. We're going to build this pyramid of divine qualities. And you know, like any good pyramid, it's got to have a really wide, solid base to start with. And in this case, that base is made up of a set of 50 foundational qualities. Yep, 50 of them. You can think of these as the absolute building blocks of divinity. They're the biggest group, and what's really interesting is that they're also the most accessible qualities. This is the bedrock, the foundation of the whole thing. So this first batch, it's all about physical presence, charisma. We're talking about an ideal form that isn't just strong and forever young, but is also just fundamentally pleasing to be around, really attractive. It's a kind of divinity you feel on a gut level, you know? It's immediate. Okay, so from the physical, the text then shifts to the mind, to the intellectual side of things. It paints a picture of a being who's not just smart, but a wonderful linguist. And get this, that means being able to talk not just to other gods in Sanskrit, but even to animals in their own languages. I mean, that's incredible. So this is a genius who's also artistic, super clever, and this is key, always truthful. And now we get to what's maybe the most important part, character. This isn't just some checklist of virtues. It's a full-on portrait of a being who's not just all-powerful, but also deeply, deeply moral. I mean, just think about the kind of self-control it would take to be the supreme controller of everything, and at the same time, be a protector full of compassion. It's pretty amazing. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. The text does something pretty radical here. It takes this huge, grand idea of the divine and brings it right down to earth. It says, hey, these 50 qualities, they're not just for gods. It suggests they exist like tiny little sparks inside every single one of us. And to make sure these aren't just a bunch of abstract words, the text gives us these fantastic little stories. So, for example, to explain the quality of being grateful, it doesn't just say, he's grateful. No, it shows Krishna feeling this ever-growing debt in his heart, all because someone cried out his name when they were in trouble. It makes it so much more real. Okay, so we've got our foundation set. Now it's time to start climbing up that pyramid. The next level of qualities, well, these are a lot more exclusive. This is where we start to see what really separates the divine from, the rest of us. So on top of those first 50, the text adds another 5. And these 5 are considered so powerful, so potent, that even other major gods like Brahma or Shiva only show them partially. So what does it really take to be a god at this level? Well, according to this, it's all about going beyond the limits of the physical world. It's about being stable and changeless when everything around you is constantly changing. It's about having the clarity that comes from knowing everything. and it's about having a body that's literally made of pure, eternal bliss. Right, as we keep climbing, the pyramid gets even narrower. Now we're getting to a set of qualities that are seen in the form of Narayana, who's described as like the cosmic source of literally everything. And here we add another 5. That brings our grand total up to 60. And these 5, specifically, are all about what it means to be the ultimate origin point, the source code for all of existence. And this list has some truly mind-bending stuff on it. We're talking about inconceivable power, uncountable universes just popping out of his body, being the original source for all other divine incarnations, and then there's maybe the most wild idea of all, being able to give salvation even to the enemies you defeat. Wow. So let's take stock. We've gone from 50 to 55 to 60 qualities. We've covered immense power, cosmic creation. I mean, what else could there possibly be? What qualities could possibly sit at the very, very top of this pyramid and make Krishna completely unique? Well, it all comes down to just 4 final qualities, and the text is super clear about this. You won't find these 4 in demigods, you won't find them in regular living beings, and you won't even find them in the Narayana form. This is it, the absolute peak. And the very first unique quality, it's not about raw power, it's about play. It's this intimate, personal, playful side shown through what the text calls pastimes. It's suggesting that the highest form of the divine isn't just about making universes, but about actually engaging with them in this spirit of joyful, loving play. The second one is really fascinating because it's not just about him, it's about who he draws in. His uniqueness is actually defined by being surrounded by devotees who have this incredibly deep and wonderful love. So it reframes divinity, right? It's not some lonely thing, but it's being at the center of a loving community. Okay, quality number 3 is a super specific and unmatched power of attraction. And it's all symbolized by this one beautiful image, the sound of his flute, a sound that has the power to just capture the hearts of every being, everywhere. See, it's a power that comes from love, not from force. And for the 64th and final quality, we've come full circle. We're right back where we started with that first bit of poetry. It's a supreme, unmatched beauty, a beauty so excellent that literally nothing else in all of creation can compete with it. So our whole analytical journey, it ends right back in that feeling of pure awe. So there you have it. We've climbed this whole incredible pyramid of qualities, all the way from a broad base that connects to all of us, right up to a super specific, unique peak. But what does it all mean? What's the big takeaway from this whole detailed structure? Well, the structure is the message. This whole thing isn't just a list, it's like a theological map. It defines divinity by taking us on a journey from the universal to the specific. And what it ultimately says is the most unique thing, the absolute peak. It isn't cosmic power or creating universes. It's an intimate ability for playfulness, attraction, love, and beauty. So you have to wonder, why go through all the trouble of making a list like this? Maybe, just maybe, it's not only about trying to define the divine. Maybe it's also about trying to understand ourselves. It really shows our deep need to find some order in all the chaos, right? To make maps for the things we don't understand and to feel a connection to something bigger than us, especially when it seems totally incomprehensible.